Games 61 to 70. The trade deadline's in there. A certain ice maintenance individual is in there as well. Should you expect fireworks in the next video? I think you already know the answer to that. How would they respond in Game 63? Do you know what Game 63 was? Enter the emergency backup goaltender, the E-Bug, David Ayres. With that, the Leafs lose to a 42-year-old Zamboni driver who works for them! People are like, well, he doesn't actually work for the Leafs, he actually works for the Marlies. I'm like, is that better? Just their most embarrassing loss of the season. It has to be. The Zamboni Driver. Yes, I do remember now. You lose to Boston a couple times. You blow a 3-0 lead in a playoff game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Heck, you even lose to an emergency backup goaltender. Well, I guess my brand is a yell and scream after Leafs losses. Whether it's Game 6 against Washington, or Game 7 against Boston, or Game 7 against Boston, or even Game 7 against Boston. Or that time they lost to a 42-year-old Zamboni. You know the line. And dude, skip this LFR. Redo the David Ayres LFR. Put down half a handle of Tito's, then watch the game again, then record. Travis, there will be no Tito's. I have a 7-week-old upstairs. What is Tito's anyway, Travis? Knowing you, that sounds like the tequila they serve at Sparrow.
What that game seemed like to me wasn't really a what could they have done differently. It seemed like the Leafs organization kind of throwing the players into a sink or swim scenario. Because PK, sometimes, like, for example, 2016-17, the kids are playing great. How do they award them? You know what? We're going to go out at the deadline. We're going to get Brian Boyle to help the group, and we're going to make a run at the playoffs. This year, you know what their final game before the trade deadline was, PK?
What?
They lost to the emergency backup. And Kyle Dubas said, nuts to this. So, PK, I told you, okay, you haven't had the internet for the past 2 weeks, right? You haven't had the internet for the past 2 weeks. I told you there was a team that blew a 3-0 lead and lost. And then the next game, they overcame a 3-0 deficit and won. You know it's the Leafs before I tell you.
Okay, but
I tell you a team lost to an emergency backup. You know it's the Leafs before I tell you.
Listen. The emergency backup, Carolina's a good team. Carolina's a very good team.
Columbus is a good team.
Carolina just swept the New York Rangers. Listen to me. Carolina is a real deal team. So before we even get into the goaltending thing, that's a that's a top 10 team in the league. That's a possibly top 5 team when they're playing the way that they want to play. So I'm not going to talk about that game.
Special shout out to teammate David Ayres. Yes, the David Ayres, who was a fundraising teammate on Rachel's Raiders this year. Sarah and David Ayres were kind enough to throw their name behind the cause, and they together raised over $2,000. From now on, he shall be known as the 42-year-old Zamboni driver with a giant heart. Who are you rooting for now that the Leafs are out? The team that sends me free stuff even when I don't ask for it. They sent me this. So thanks for the shirt, and get my goalie a ring. Oh, and if you win, make sure you get the other goalie a ring as well.